Hey, it's Marilyn Devenish from transformationstm.com, and today I am going to do a mini masterclass. So, hello and welcome all. If you're watching on Facebook, of course, this is live. I think I'm going to set my timer as well, actually, because let's see, I've got a bit of a time limit. So set my timer. So hello and welcome. For those of you who haven't met before, my name is Marilyn Devenish. I'll do a bit of an introduction as we go through this as well. And what I want to do is a mini masterclass on the photo reading whole mind system. So you can see along the bottom, the ticker tape, we're going to look at, what is it? How does it work? Who is it for? What are some of the results? Because if you're watching this in real time, you have let's see, what time is it now? So I'm probably going to say you've got probably about 12 hours if you really do want to join us for the in-person workshop. I'm also going to talk about the online as well. And I'm testing out one of their features, which is the presentation feature. So I want to see how this one works as we go through. You can't chop and change, so I'm just going to have to go with whatever comes next in terms of the stack. But the plan is to give you a very quick overview of how all of this works. So the photo reading whole mind system. In a nutshell, what is photo reading? It's an accelerated reading and learning system. So typically speaking, when we're starting off, we're talking about photo reading at 25,000 words per minute and showing you how to get through whole books from start to finish in about 5 minutes. So a small book like this, which is the photo reading book, once we get into it on the workshop, I give you 5 minutes to start with, but by the time we get to the Sunday and we're playing with the book again, people are getting through that whole book in about 3 minutes, and then you're learning strategies to remember and recall what it is you've read so you can put what you've been reading into practice. So that's what it is in a nutshell. In terms of the photo reading whole mind system itself, let's bring up the next one. Developed by Dr. Paul Sheely back in 1985. So I know when I speak to people a lot of the time, I might be out networking, running workshops, speaking at exhibitions, etc. It's often a very new concept and idea to people, but it has actually been around for a long time now in terms of, something that's new. It's been around a few years. 1985, if you get your calculator out, that's actually quite a long time ago. And it really is about how you can kind of maximize your potential. This is Dr. Paul Sheely here. So he's wearing the blue t-shirt or the black t-shirt in the top right picture. And if you look at that picture top right, there's a whiteboard behind us because photo reading is always growing and evolving as we learn more about ourselves, as we learn more about how the mind and the brain work. So it's still an ever evolving process, even though it has been around for a long time now. In terms of why you would photo read, definitely to get more done in less time and with a lot less stress, because as you'll see as we go through our mini session today, when we look at step 1, that's pivotal, and it's all about your state, getting yourself into what you call the flow state, activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is about the body's natural relaxation response. So all of that comes as a natural byproduct. Getting your reading done and accomplishing what you want to do in the time that you have available, creating those new fabulous, delicious neurological connections as you go through. Really quick way to get familiar with the material that you're required to read, either for work, business, or pleasure. And of course, it appeals to students because if you're studying, you've of course got to be able to remember and recall and apply what it is you've been learning. So it's brilliant for that. And one of the things that we often talk about on the workshop is installing rockets. If you think about learning to ride a bike, we have those little training wheels on and you're quite slow and rickety. This is about putting rockets where you used to have those little training wheels. So that's really what it's all about. Now, one of the questions I get is, who is photo reading for? This is by no means an exhaustive list. If I was going to do that, I'd probably have 10 slides, but I've crammed it all into one. So I'm going to reel some of those off for you if you're on a little device and you can't read them all. But coaches, trainers, consultants, entrepreneurs, if you're an employee, you've got a day job, students, I've had accountants, doctors, lawyers, therapists, engineers, school teachers. I've even had a team of rocket scientists from Cranfield University. So I would say it's not necessarily about a particular person and demographic. It's more about, do you want additional skills and better ways to deal with information overload and the amount of data that we have coming at us? I'd say that's really the pivotal question. Now, one of the things that people often come with when we're doing the photo reading, this is who else the photo reading is for, because people will often call up and say, I've got dyslexia, I've got dyspraxia, I've had people with autism, I've even had people with brain damage, and you'll meet one of those when I take you through a quick whiz through some of the results that people have had with regards to the photo reading. Also, people who will typically say, I'm a really slow reader. All of the above and so much more. So again, as I said, it's not something that's going to exclude people. And if anything, those who have dyslexia, for example, by the time we get started on the Friday evening, is completely forgotten about, and everyone is on a level playing field, because it's called the photo reading whole mind system, because it's about whole mind, whole brain learning. So we're looking at the learning styles, multiple intelligence, there's a number of things. So it's suitable really for all. And I've worked with students and clients age 7 to 70 plus. So we're not discriminating in terms of age either. One of the questions people often ask is, does it really work? Now, this is the new 2022 World Memory Champion. And Dr. Paul Sheely sent out an email 2 weeks ago announcing the news and sharing what the World Memory Champion had said about the photo reading whole mind system. So she said, I have to lean in a bit for this one. It says, we're incredibly grateful to Paul Sheely for introducing us to and teaching new ways of using the brain's vast capabilities. So I'm going to say, look, if it's working for the World Memory Champion, and you probably don't have to go and jump through all of those hoops, it will totally work for you. So really the question is, do you want to now start tapping into the vast capabilities of your mind and brain and actually do it in a way that is simple, easy, and fun? It takes just 2.5 days to learn if you're doing it in a group format. And if you're doing it one-to-one, I think the quickest has ever has been about 1.5 hours. I wouldn't recommend going that fast. He was pushed for time, had an exam coming up. But seriously, it's so quick and so very easy to learn. So that's a little bit of the kind of the backstory. Now, this was from one of my clients who attended the photo reading workshop several years ago. And in answer to the question, would you recommend it to other people? His response was JFDI, just do it. He said, if you're looking for a way to organize the 1,000,001 things going on in your mind, just do it. And actually, weirdly, that does actually look a bit like Mark, who gave me this quote. So it's a kind of a simple, for want of a better term, no-brainer. Now, for those of you I've never met before, just very quickly, my name is Marilyn Devenish. I'm now a coach, trainer, consultant. I was studying to be a chartered accountant, very quiet, very shy, terrified of public speaking, and really struggling with my studies for reasons I'll introduce you to in a moment. So photo reading came at a time where I had pretty much hit rock bottom, was really just giving up on all counts. That's a whole longer story. But I would say, if I tell you about the situation and circumstances surrounding that time, you go, oh my God, that's so awful. But actually, if it hadn't have been that bad, I may not have given photo reading another look. And I'll talk a little bit about some of that as well. Now, in terms of some of the things I do, I write for newspapers and magazines. I started off doing and focusing on emotional health and well-being. Trust me when I tell you, it's no joke, and it's the truth. When journalists want something, they want it yesterday. They need it quick, they need it fast. So photo reading has come in very handy for researching, getting things done in record time. I also write for a number of business publications. This is a tiny snippet of some that I've written for in the past 12 months, including Huffington Post, People Management, Forbes magazine, PR Moment, Personnel Today, Management Today. There's a lot in there. So again, turn around on these things really fast, need it now, and actually want something different, new and innovative. So the photo reading has been invaluable. So for those of you who write, even if you're not writing for publications, if you're writing blogs, if you're having to write reports in terms of your work and your job, even in terms of writing emails, or it might be that you're doing stuff like white papers, comes in super handy for that. I've also been a specialist remote working consultant since 2003. So yes, well before the world was remote working and working from home. And I co-authored 2 books in 2020 on remote working. Again, the turnaround on those was really fast, and the photo reading most certainly came in very, very handy for that also. I've been a corporate trainer since 2003. The long list of workshops designed and developed over the years. Again, I'd need several slides for that. And photo reading has been pivotal in being able to take that blank sheet of paper and turn it into a program, a workshop, be that half a day, 1 day, 5 or 6 days. So it's been really, really handy. And the very first book that I co-authored was with myself, Dr. Paul Shealy. If you're into personal development, you might have heard of Tony Robbins, the late Dr. Wayne Dyer, Brian Tracy. And it was, so for me, the whole thing about how to transform your life, your mind, your brain, that's been pivotal and key for the things that I enjoy doing. So why did I give photo reading a second look? Because you can hear the intro and go, well, it's all right for you. Of course, you can photo read. That isn't necessarily the case. Why I gave photo reading a second look. I was diagnosed with what was thought to be early onset Alzheimer's in my 20s. You could say something to me and I would then be going, right, okay, where's my post-it notes and where's my pen? Because if I didn't write it down straight away, whoosh, it was just gone out of my head and most likely gone forever, until somebody came back and say, oh, hey, Marilyn, did you do X, Y, Z? And then my response would be, oh yeah, just about to do that. And I go, oh my God, because they've reminded me. So that's really how bad it was. I found it difficult to concentrate for more than a few minutes. I was studying at that time to be a chartered accountant. I was rereading the same material 15 to 20 times. And even then, still struggling to remember and recall what I had read. And actually today I was looking through Facebook for something, and I've posted somewhere in here the ACCA results. One of them, what they didn't even bother to mark the paper. That's how bad things had gotten by then. Of course, massively stressed, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally exhausted. I didn't want to live like that, but had no idea that it was even possible to do anything else. I started off with the thing, lots of vitamins, brewer's yeast, ginkgo biloba, starflower oil, evening primrose oil. I was probably rattling, doing things like crosswords. I was even doing handstands because I reasoned that, sending more blood flow to the head, which actually I think is a valid point, because now people have those machines that will tip them upside down. Tried everything, nothing had worked. So I was kind of on the verge of giving up in more ways than one. And I know when I say all of that, people are like, really, Marilyn? So just in case you're in that category, this is the letter from the ACCA, the accountancy body, and they are confirming receipt of the medical certificate from my doctor in terms of what I was going through with the mind and the brain and the challenges that I was having. So just so you know that I'm not just fabricating this out of thin air. So in terms of the photoing, there are 3 things that we're going to start with on that Friday night. So this Friday, if you're going to be joining us, first one is really looking at how do you boost your brain power, get more out of the call it the gray matter. This is a nice pink color, but how to get more out of this wonderful thing that sits there in your head waiting to be activated. It's also going to show you, of course, how to start photo reading at 25,000 words per minute. And that's just our starting point. If any of you have read the photo reading book, you would have perhaps seen the piece in here from Paul McKenna, who was photo reading at speeds of up to 1 million words per minute. They then did a comprehension test, got over 70%. So 25,000 words per minute in that context is pretty slow. But considering the average person reads anywhere from 200 to 400 words per minute, 25,000 words per minute is a really good starting point. We're going to activate left and right brain, show you how to get into the flow state, such that by the time we get to the end of the workshop on the Sunday, you'll be able to do that at the drop of a hat in 10, 15, 20 seconds. And that is a state really you take with you for the rest of your life. Super useful. And the bonus for me, really, I would say, is it becomes the start of a lifelong journey, because it just someone had messaged me a few weeks ago saying that they are now a lawyer because of photo reading, because it gave them the confidence to know that they could take that on. That is awesome. Amazing. So it really, really is the start of a lifelong journey. And when I talk about activating your brain and changing the way your mind and brain works, I don't just say that because it sounds fancy. We're actually working with changing the way your mind and brain works. We'll get more into this slide on the workshop. But one of the things that happens when you start photo reading, which is step 3 of the photo reading whole mind system, there are 5 steps in total, your brain waves immediately change. And you go from that busy bit, which is the dark grey bit, to that lovely undulating state of relaxed alertness. And that happens automatically as a byproduct of photo reading. Again, we talk more about it, and not just talk about it, you will experience it. So there's an overarching purpose for the photo reading whole mind system, which is to get your reading done in the time that you have available. You're all going to be different. If you're working, you may just need to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of the competition or the thing that you have to do, present, work on. If you're a student, you're going to need more breadth and more depth, but you will decide that based on, you know, your ultimate output for the material. And then there are 3 stages. So day 1, we're looking at how do you advance your reading? How do you become more fluent and active and efficient with your reading? The second part, which really kind of maps on to day 2, is the whole thing about, okay, what can we do to accelerate your performance, expand the way your mind and brain is working? And number 3, on the Sunday, we really then move into that integration mode so that we are installing those patterns, beliefs, strategies, such that you can make photo reading a part of your daily life. So that's really what we're going for with regards to the photo reading. This is just a very quick preview of what we cover on day 1. I'm not going to go into all of that here, but the 3-minute read is always fun. Looking at the information flow levels of consciousness is always interesting. The photo reading comparison in terms of how does photo reading compare with some of the other ways that you might read and some of the other systems that are out there. So we cover a lot on just that first evening. I've had someone once come along and say, on the first night, I've got more than my money's worth. I could leave right now and still be happy and have gained a huge amount. Now, of course, he stayed for the weekend, but we hit the ground running in terms of what we're doing, how we're doing it. So if you have any questions about anything I've said or anything that I'm discussing while we're here, feel free to put those in the comments, and I'll get to them while we're live, hopefully. Yeah. But that's in a summary. Now, to do all of this that we're talking about, it actually requires a paradigm shift. You've got to start looking at things differently. You look at yourself differently in terms of what it is you're capable of. For those of you who follow me, you'll know that there are times I'm talking about the movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper and Robert De Niro, where you take the silver pill. And I had he was a doctor at the time and trainee neurosurgeon, attended my photo reading workshop, and said, he'd asked, at the time I hadn't seen it, he asked if I'd seen the movie Limitless, and I said no. And I said, why? And he said, well, everything you're teaching here in this workshop is in the movie. The only difference is you don't have to take a dangerous silver pill. It just requires a shift in your mindset. But if you're open to it, then whoosh, the world is your oyster when you do go to that rocket thing. Now, in terms of who's it for? Does it really work? What are some of the results and how can you learn it? Now, there's the in-person classes, but of course we have people who are around the world. So 2018, I think, is when I really opened it up to the public, but I started running the full 3-day certification class online as a video webinar. Now, people often say, does it really work? Do you get the same impact? Yes, you do. And when I put the feedback forms from the online work certification class next to the in-person certification class, there was no difference. So this is from actually one of the people who attended my very first online photo reading certification class. They said it was good, flexibility of participating from my chosen location, especially as the days have been full on, and it was a combination of comprehensive, intense, and fun delivery. Someone else who attended on that very first online version of the workshop said it was inspiring, creative, intensive, engaging, and brilliant. So absolutely it translates online if you're not in the UK and can't make it live. This was from one of my clients. For those of you who know me, you may also know Naomi Tamayama. She attended the photo reading workshop, and I just happened to see this quote on Facebook where she had said, I've spent less than an hour reading 8 books, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, but 8 books on a topic, and I've just compiled a piece of work from this. Hashtag game changer, hashtag real life skills. Now, I know people who don't get through 8 books in a year, never mind 8 books in less than 1 hour. That is mind-blowing, and it really is a game changer. Absolutely. This was from one of my clients who was doing a teacher training exam, so professional study, was thinking of giving up because it was just too hard. And by the Sunday, she had fallen in love with the book that she hated on the Friday. When she came in, she slammed the book down. The room almost shook because, like, whoa, what was that? And she said to the group, if any of you suffer from insomnia, I recommend this text because it will immediately put you to sleep. And just in the space of 2.5 days, went from hating it to absolutely loving it, and continued on with the career path that she'd chosen. I talked about brain damage. Some of you might know Kay Westmoreland, the conscious accountant. The picture that you can see on the left there is a field, and that is a field that her light aircraft went down in. She was in a near fatal plane crash. Unfortunately, her partner passed away, and Kay was left with brain damage. Done all the tests and all that sort of stuff. Lovely prestigious hospitals in London, so there's nothing more we can do for you. So she was functioning, but she knew what she was like before the crash and what she was like afterwards. So had developed several strategies to be able to try and work around that. Within the 2.5 days of the workshop, Kay had said, your photo reading course has really changed everything, Marilyn. My brain just feels rewired. That's amazing, because we had spoken over a period of almost 7 years where we'd meet up at networking events and she would say, do you think photo reading will work for me? I go, yeah, I think it will. Nothing would happen. We'd meet again a few years later. Do you think photo reading will work? But yes, I think it will. Nothing happened. When she finally came to the workshop, 2.5 days, job done. So if you're not in that place, and I don't know many people who are, you are off to a head start already. Absolutely amazing. Now, in terms of age, this was from one of my photo reading attendees who was 11 years old. And she said, Marilyn, you helped me so much being a better person and feeling better about myself. I always say that photo reading is the gift, G-I-F-T, that keeps on giving. And what a gift for children. I wish I had had that kind of skill and learn ways to be more confident within myself at the age of 11. I didn't get there, started the journey at age 32. So it's one that, seriously, school, college, whether people go on to university, if they go out into their jobs, it is a lifelong skill that just keeps on going. And Kay had actually attended with her daughter, and her daughter was in the final year of her degree, and they both said, oh my God, I wish we had come and done this at the start. Also brilliant for teenagers, moody teenagers as well. And also, seriously, I should maybe one day just sit down and write down all of the ways that you can use photo reading. The quote here is about someone I had met when I went along to speak at the Royal Bank of Scotland in London, and they were there in the session. So they got in touch afterwards and said, was at your photo reading talk. It sounds as though it could help me prepare for an interview. Now, they hadn't interviewed for 10 years. They'd been in the same job 10 years, hadn't progressed, hadn't really done any training, and most certainly hadn't attended any interviews. So we did a 1-hour Skype session. I had no idea what she looked like. We were just using audio, and I did a whistle stop tour of pulling out just some of the key components and elements of photo reading that would really help her to prepare for the interview, because she was given a stack of documents and files to read, and she was going to have to do a kind of on the spot, you know, what they call like an in-tray exercise, and it was a panel interview as well. So nerve-wracking on so many fronts. And of course, then there's the whole thing about the gap in your CV. So did some coaching around how to handle that. And I'll just read you a little extract of this. So one of the things she says is Imagineering was crucial for the interview. It's one of the processes I took her through, and it also helped with placing me in that relaxed state. She said, however, they threw the questions at me that were not asked in the way that I had imagined. They were framed in a way that demanded several responses to particular aspects. So a question may have had 4 parts to it. I took my notes, but I didn't refer to them, which in hindsight I should have. But all in all, it was a good experience, even if I do not get the job. Now, guess what? There were a lot of people going for that job. Guess who got the job? My client, which was just fantastic. And some of the things that we've done in the Imagineering process actually came up. So we prepared for them a couple of days. I think I worked with her 3 days before the interview. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. This was again from one of the teenagers. He was a teenage gamer. So he said, actually, this was his sister. He says, I'm quite a stressed person. I don't really feel comfortable sharing my thoughts and ideas, but this program has taught me how to relax. It was really nice and peaceful environment, and it's not only a photo reading training but self-development too. And that was a family of 4. They've flown over from Switzerland to attend. Just amazing. So again, they all went away with something. And people often ask about level of detail. And would it really work in, let's say, a serious work environment? This is the feedback from a team of rocket scientists that I taught at Cranfield University. So they said it was stimulating, valuable, highly recommend, professional, excellent, enlightening, fun, relaxing, motivating, time well spent, and it should be given to all first-year PhD students. But for them to say it was fun and relaxing and enlightening, that is not the feedback I expected to get from them. So that was amazing, because when you're a rocket scientist, you know how to learn. We have really wonderful things happen. On the Friday night, I do the bonus belief change session. And people can put anything into the mix that they want. We had 2 sisters come along to the workshop. One of them, the one you can see petting the dog, was afraid of dogs. And so when I was doing the HUNA and the access consciousness, we put that into the mix. And this is a picture that her mum sent me a few weeks later, where they're out in the park for the first time ever. She's petting a dog. So when I say that photo reading goes way beyond reading, I'm not kidding you. This was from a teenager. She says, from a moody, skeptical 16-year-old to a relaxed, positive, open-minded young person like me, anything is possible. And it took just over 2 days for us to have that dramatic transformation. So this is one that people often ask. They come and they expect like 2,000 people to be there, but she'd said, this is wonderful. Why isn't everybody here? Yeah, why aren't you here? Get yourself signed up and come and join us. But it is just amazing. It's also for those of you who are spiritually inclined. It's about accessing those high states of consciousness. So this was from someone who is a spiritual mentor, and he said, just that one process on the Friday evening did it for me. I could leave the course now because I've got more than my money's worth, because just one of the processes that I showed him took him from kind of really having to work quite hard to reach stage of higher consciousness, with being able to do it at the drop of the hat in about 20 seconds. So if you're spiritually minded, it will be fantastic for that. This is from Deirdre Barr. Some of you who follow me know her, and she was studying at the time, and actually subsequently went back to study and did again use her photo reading skills. But she says, I can really recommend this workshop if you want or need to absorb information quickly and with depth. Don't assume or mistake it for speed reading. It is a really valuable tool. And the week I came back from it, I wrote a great 1,000-word essay on something I knew little about within 3 to 4 hours of research, included and without plagiarizing. Plus, Marilyn is a really engaging, lovely trainer. So when I talk about real life skills that you can walk out the door, put into practice, and use straight away, and really do amazing, incredible things with them, I'm not kidding. So we've got several here, and this was years later, it was still working. This is Kate. This was one of the Facebook memories things that came up. She said, a whole year since I learned photo reading with Marilyn Devenish. That's me. Fabulous weekend with wonderful people, and I came away with a life-changing skill to boot. So it really is life-changing. This is the lovely Lisa Howell. Some of you know her, but she says everything was truly amazing, enlightening, supportive, fun, engaging, and gorgeous. I went from lightly cynical to proper convert in under 3 days. So Lisa is a screenwriter, novelist, and journalist. So again, someone who is always in that space of words, books, etc. And I always say, look, you can come and be lightly cynical. Key thing is have an open mind, because when you've got an open mind, anything is possible. So I'd say that's one of the key prerequisites. Some of you might know Lee Pycroft. Actually, maybe you won't, but Lee, if you ever watched, if you think about Tyra Banks, America's Next Top Model, we had Britain and Ireland's Next Top Model. Lee was the makeup artist who ran the team of makeup artists working behind the scenes on that show. So occasionally, if they did behind the scenes stuff, you'd see Lee, but she was behind the camera. So she attended the photo reading workshop. A couple of weeks later, this happened. She said, photo reading definitely shows up in unexpected ways, smiley face. I did a screen test the other day and mind mapped the whole thing. The feedback I got was, you were brilliant. So for those of you who are wanting to get in front of the camera, even if you don't need to, well, a lot of people need to be on camera now because we're in Zoom Nation, but even if you're not a presenter, think about speaking up in meetings, delivering talks to your teams. All of those things can be vastly improved with the photo reading. This was someone who came away feeling younger. She was an author, flew in from Ireland to attend the workshop. She says, you've opened up so many possibilities for me and inspired me to expand my life and knowledge. I don't feel as old as I did when I came. Thank you, which again is really, really fantastic. Every year as a photo reading instructor, you have to submit feedback, from a selection of feedback from your students. I'll be honest, I used to not select the glowing ones because it all felt a bit like, God, they're going to think I'm making this up. So I would kind of downplay it a bit and choose the not so glowy ones, just so I didn't sound like I was, fabricating anything. And this was an email that I got from Lynette Ayres, who was, until a few years ago, the master trainer. So she would travel the world training the photo reading instructors, regardless of where you lived. If you're in Australia, she'll go to Australia. If you're in Japan, she'll go to Japan. She came to sunny Watford, and she says, wow, Marilyn, I think you should laminate your report and hang it on your wall. What incredible comments, and they don't surprise me one bit. You are and always have been a totally present instructor. You create such a fantastic environment and have such high energy. How can your participants not learn? So if you want to learn this wonderful skill that we've called photo reading, I'm running an in-person workshop day after tomorrow if you're watching this in real time. And if you happen to be watching this as a replay recording, the on-demand certification class is always available to you. So feel free to participate in that. It was filmed with a live studio audience. So you get to hear all of the questions and coaching that we go through on the workshop. And one of the challenges, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing this video, is how do you put all of this into words and convey to people? Because people often come and get a little bit snippy, and I've had people get quite angry on the first day of the workshop. Well, why didn't you tell me it was this good? Well, why didn't you tell me you cover all of this? Well, why didn't you tell me all of this would change? And I'm like, what can I do? I do my best to share with you how people have, received the workshop and the feedback. This was from a marketing specialist. I was really excited when she came because I thought, right, she's a marketing specialist. She can put this into words. Here's what she said. I can see your dilemma with marketing. How to get people to believe all the changes with something so seemingly simple as photo reading. A good dilemma. So yeah, it's fantastic that people love it and it's amazing and it's mind-blowing and it just exceeds their wildest dreams and expectations, but still a challenge to convey that to people. It's not until they get in the room and they're like, whoa, I see what you mean. I see what you were talking about. Another person said your photo reading weekend course is a must for all. Had so much fun. Wish I had come to it sooner. Look forward to attending one of your other amazing workshops. And the wish I'd come sooner is something that I hear over and over and over again. This was actually someone who was also at that Royal Bank of Scotland talk. So she decided to come and do the full photo reading workshop. And she was someone who was very quiet and very timid, was holding back in meetings. So I don't know if you've ever had that experience where you're in a meeting, you have an idea, you don't share it, and then someone else in the meeting comes up with a smidging of an idea, nowhere near as fabulous as yours, and everybody's like, oh my god, that's amazing, wow, wow, wow. And then she, well, of course, now can't say anything because it sounds like she's trying to steal their thunder, jump on the bandwagon. So was in that real kind of frustrated mode. So attends a photo reading workshop. We did a couple of coaching sessions afterwards as well. And she says, Marilyn, I don't know what you've done to me, exclamation mark. I've moved so far from where I was 2 months ago when I did the course, and I got so much more than just photo reading. Thank you. So she worked in the IT division of the investment bank in London. So it really, you can use it in so many ways. Oh, this is a fun one. This is Nick, who attended the photo reading workshop, and they were part of the very, very, very first time that I ran the mastermind group after the workshop. So the tasking for one of those months was to use photo reading in a way that has got nothing to do with books, nothing to do with reading. So I won't tell you the whole story now, but Nick photo read a clothes store because he wanted a jumper and immediately found the perfect one. And he's really tall. He's 6 foot, I think it's close to 6'6", very slim, but long body, long arms, long torso, etc. So he said it's always really difficult to find clothing. Found the perfect jumper within 5 minutes using the step 1 process and setting a really clear purpose. So there are fun things that you can do with it. Someone says from daunted and fearful, which is how they felt when they came, to excited and curious in just 1 hour. Because when you sit in that seat, you get that first introduction, it's like, wow, absolute wow. We're also going to be doing the HUNA, H-U-N-A. This is a shot from the TCCHE, the Conference for Consciousness and Human Evolution. So you can see Greg Braden, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and Bruce Lipton there on stage. We had a photo reading moment with that where I'm on stage, all of the speakers, there's like 12 of them all on the stage, and I'm interviewing all of them just one after the other, and I had these little white cards where I had questions, and I was just about to do Bruce Lipton, so I said, oh Bruce, let me find your questions. Greg Braden then sort of says, have you got questions for all of us? And I said, yeah. And he said, like individual questions. This is in front of 500 plus people. I was like, yeah. And then he said, where did you get the questions from? And I was like, uh-oh. Does this mean he doesn't like them and he wants to go to questions from the audience? So I had to be honest. And I said, I made them up this morning at 3:30 in the morning. I woke up. I suddenly thought, hold on a minute. I think I should get some questions together in case I need them. Now, the plan was to get questions from the audience, so I knew I didn't need any questions. So I basically got myself into state, did a mind map, did that kind of, we're talking about that spiritual download thing, came up with the questions, put them all on the mind map, went back to sleep for an hour or so. Just mind-blowing. And there were some of the speakers there. Now, when you're at an event like this, these guys are, you know, they're New York Times best-selling authors, etc. They're always being interviewed. And several of the speakers, because we did some one-to-one interviews behind the scenes as well, and several of them said, wow, these are some of the best questions I've ever been asked. Fantastic questions. So again, that was down to the photo reading. Seriously, it just shows up in the most mysterious of ways. So we've heard from Kay already. And this one was really cool. Actually, I came across a picture of him on Facebook today, funny enough. But he works in IT, writes code, programming, etc. And he just walks straight up to him, hands me the feedback form, and just says, "This is the best personal development course I have ever attended, hands down." I'm like, so cool, because people actually don't expect it to also be a full-on personal development course. They just think they're coming to learn to read a bit faster. Ignore the 20% off. That was, you know, from the time when I created the graphic. But yeah, and photo reading, there are 5 steps. Very simple. Step 1, once you know how to get yourself prepared, you can do that in, you know, 10-20 seconds. Your preview step 2 takes 60 to 90 seconds, so just a minute and a half. Your photo reading step 3, you can photo read a typical size book in about 5 minutes. Your post view, I allow 2 to 3 minutes for the post view, and the activation is the one where you might extend how long you spend activating depending on, are you sitting an exam or do you just need to present at a meeting? So the time for that one will vary, but the steps are really, really quick. And it all centers, we start with that whole piece around step 1, which is the prepare stage. Some of you, if you followed me for a while, you may have heard me talk about the tangerine technique. And the tangerine technique is all about how to get yourself into state, how to activate the flow state and be in that state of what we call relaxed alertness, where you're almost gliding rather than that state of stressful urgency. And once you've got that down and nailed that, everything just changes and opens up. So it is absolutely amazing. There's step 3 as well, which is the photo reading step. And that is where, when you're photo reading, you're turning the pages at the rate of 1 second per page. Now, there's a whole list of things that you're doing in amongst that, in terms of getting your mind to work with you and for you rather than against you, because of course you're going to have maybe your mental chatter going, oh my God, is that possible? Can you really read this fast? Am I seeing it? Da, 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 da. So there are some lovely little things that we do around that to support that. But basically, you're photo reading as fast as you can turn the pages at about 1 second per page. So it's crazy cool stuff. We, you know, in terms of how it compares to your more traditional reading, when you're reading analytically, word for word, just plodding through, you know, we talked about earlier, anything from 100 to maybe 400-500 words a minute if you're really speeding. But when we start using some of the photo reading steps, the skittering, the rhythmic perusal, the rapid reading, the photo reading, we're really now starting to power through. And the reason it says question mark, question mark, question mark is we know about the 1 million words per minute. But we as humans, I know we are scratching the surface in terms of what we're capable of. So I know those numbers will continue to change. And one of the things I always say to people, look, we're not asking your brain to do anything it can't already do, and actually doesn't already do in other situations and circumstances and scenarios. It's just that when it comes to reading, learning, presenting, speaking, people are in a different state. But you may have seen some of these things floating around on social media. Once your brain gets the pattern, it's really very easy for everything to fall in line. So all we're doing is we talked about the changing the paradigms. We talked about the neural connections. Once we start doing that, everything, and this is one of the everything just becomes easy. So it's just such a fun, amazing, incredible program. I also teach mind mapping on the program as well. So for those of you who are students, or if you are people who present and deliver presentations, you're a public speaker, amazing for that. So you'll be mind mapping like a champion by the time we get to the end of the workshop. it's all about the mindset. So there's these little kind of acronyms and things that we play with. I'll explain more about what that is when we get on the workshop. And it's also working through that learning curve, because people come in at that stage of unconscious incompetence where they just don't know what they don't know because they've never done it before. And as we work through the weekend, we're getting you to that place of conscious competence. So there's a lot that we cover in the 2.5 days. People are always astounded by how much we've covered, how much they've changed and transformed, the amount that they've learned, the skills that they've been able to tap into. It's amazing. So if you're watching this as the replay, if you've got any questions, got any queries, you can put them into the comments, and I will of course cycle back and give you some quick answers. If you wanted any further information about attending the workshop, drop me an email. It's marilyn@transformationstm.com. Marilyn is Marilyn, same spelling as Marilyn Monroe, at trance, TRANCE, as in hypnotic trance, formations, F for Freddie, so FORMATIONS, TM as in trademark, so Marilyn@transformationstm.com. Drop me an email if you wanted further information about actually attending the workshop. The website is also going across the bottom in the ticker tape, transformationstm.com/photo reading. The reason I've grayed out the number, the worst way to get hold of me is by phone, unless you booked an appointment. But in the first instance, just drop me an email and I can let you know about if you want to attend. If you're watching this in real time, we go live day after tomorrow. We start at Friday at 3 p.m. and then we do 3 p.m. till 8 p.m. and then we do 9:30 to 6:30 on the Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, there have been times I've been there till 10 o'clock at night, not because we've run late, but because people are chatting. They're so excited about how much life has changed. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for joining me for this little mini masterclass and webinar. If you know someone who could benefit from these skills, please feel free to share this link with them. If you're that kind of friend, you can copy them in, tag them into the comments. That would be absolutely amazing. And yeah, if it appeals to you, would absolutely love to have you come and join us for the next photo reading workshop, be that in person or whether you want to do it virtually online or through the one-to-one online or telephone coaching. So thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Thank you in advance for sharing this link as well. That would be absolutely fantastic. And I will catch you all later. And for those of you who are joining me for the photo reading workshop this weekend, I really look forward to seeing you there. Catch you later. Bye-bye.